Let's get right into it. Number 10. Open floor plans were designed to watch women. The open concept kitchen wasn't just about better flow, it was about visibility, specifically watching housewives. In the 1950s, American architects and advertisers pushed open floor plans as modern, sleek, and ideal for entertaining. But behind the aesthetics was a cultural shift, the re-domestication of women after World War II. With men returning from war and women being pushed back into the home, the design of the home itself became a tool. Open kitchens meant no doors, no privacy, no off switch. Housewives were now visibly working all day, able to supervise the kids, visible to guests, and completely embedded in domestic labor. It wasn't a private workspace, it was a performance stage. And guess what? Appliance companies and furniture brands loved it. More visibility meant more product placement in your own home. Psychologists later noted that women in open-concept homes reported higher stress and less sense of autonomy, even if the homes looked nicer. So if you've ever wondered why being in your kitchen somehow feels like being on display, it's not just the lighting, it's the architecture of control. Mid-century modern, but make it surveillance. Number 9. Ideal weight charts were invented by insurance companies, not doctors. You've probably seen them. A neat little chart with heights on one side and your ideal weight on the other, usually printed on the wall of a medical office or the back of a cereal box. Looks official, right? Except, it's not medical. At all. The original ideal weight charts weren't developed by health experts. They were created by Metropolitan Life Insurance Company in the 1950s. Why? To calculate life insurance risk, not health, not fitness. Just, who might die sooner and cost us more money? The charts were based on data from white, upper-class policyholders, mostly men, and didn't account for muscle mass, bone structure, ethnicity, or anything remotely individualized. But they looked scientific, so doctors adopted them. Then schools, then fitness magazines. And now they're embedded in how we talk about health, weight, and normal bodies. Even worse, the numbers were later adjusted downward, not for health reasons, but to promote thinness as a cultural ideal. So if you've ever felt bad for not fitting inside a number box invented 70 years ago by an insurance company trying to protect its bottom line, congratulations, you've been body-shamed by corporate math. Number 8. Gendered toys. Boys like blue, girls like pink. Was a marketing decision. Before the 1950s, babies wore white, all of them. Boys, girls, didn't matter. Pink and blue, they were just colors. In fact, in the early 1900s, pink was often recommended for boys because it was seen as stronger, and blue, delicate, suitable for girls. But by the mid-century, something changed, and surprise, it wasn't biology, it was retail. In the post-World War II baby boom, companies realized they could double their profits by dividing their products by gender. Why pass down toys or clothes between siblings when you could sell new ones in a different color? By the 1950s, department stores and advertisers locked it in, pink for girls, blue for boys. The association was pushed so hard that it became truth, at least in the cultural imagination. Then came gendered toys, dolls for girls to prepare them for motherhood, building sets for boys to prepare them for engineering and dominance, apparently. Psychologists now link early gendered play with limiting beliefs and career gaps later in life. But at the time, it was just about selling more plastic. So if you ever wonder why pink razors cost more, that's not fashion. That's 50 years of branding layered in your brain. Number 7. Lawns were never about grass. They were about control. Somehow, a perfectly flat, bright green patch of grass became a symbol of success. Not food, not shade, not function, just grass that you can't use. And like most things in post-war America, that wasn't an accident. In the 1950s, the rise of suburbia came with a new national image, the tidy, uniform, lawn-covered home. But lawns weren't about nature. They were about conformity. Developers and advertisers pushed the idea that a well-kept lawn meant you were a respectable, responsible citizen. Mowed lawn equals moral compass. Messy yard? Probably a communist. Seriously, the lawn was part of a larger campaign to define the American way of life during the Cold War. It was visual patriotism. It also conveniently discouraged growing your own food, which would disrupt the booming processed food economy. And the HOA, they became lawn enforcers, making sure your grass matched your neighbor's or else. Today, Americans spend over $100 billion a year maintaining lawns that serve no purpose other than not being embarrassing. If you've ever felt ashamed about dandelions in your yard, congratulations. Your front lawn has been judging you since 1956. Number 6. The customer is always right. Wasn't about service. It was about control. You've probably heard it. You may have even said it, usually while being ignored in a retail store. The customer is always right. It sounds empowering, but it wasn't meant to help you. It was meant to keep workers quiet. The phrase took off in the US in the 1950s as retail exploded. Big department stores, diners, fast food, suburban malls. Suddenly, you weren't just buying something. You were the hero of the entire transaction. And if you're the hero, that makes the cashier the villain, or at least the obstacle. In reality, this phrase was pushed hard by companies to discourage returns, protect profits, and dismantle worker rights. If a customer was always right, then a worker couldn't argue, even if the customer was rude, lying, or abusive. It created a culture where being entitled was expected, and standing up for yourself as an employee became bad service. Even today, service workers face emotional burnout, panic attacks, and straight-up hostility, all under the shadow of that fake smiley phrase. It wasn't about kindness, it was about compliance, and we're still tipping under its weight. Number 5. Department store mirrors were tilted to make you look better. You step into the fitting room, you try on the jeans, and, wow, they fit. Like, unusually well. You feel good, confident. You buy them, then you get home, and somehow, you've morphed into a completely different person. Bloated, lumpy, betrayed. That's not body dysmorphia. That's mirror physics. In the 1950s, as department stores became cultural landmarks, retailers began experimenting with tilted mirrors, usually angled slightly backward at the top. It's a subtle distortion, but it makes your legs look longer, your waist slimmer, your posture more upright. Basically, a soft focus filter for your actual body. You're not seeing you, you're seeing purchase-ready you. Combine that with flattering lighting and a touch of sales psychology, and boom, you leave thinking you've never looked better. Then wonder if your apartment is cursed when you try it on again later. Even today, some stores still use adjusted mirrors and lighting setups to prime your confidence. It's not a fitting room. It's a controlled environment designed to convert insecurity into transactions. And it works. You weren't delusional. You were retail optimized. Number 4, the nuclear family was government propaganda. 2 parents, 2 kids, white picket fence, maybe a dog named Skip. This is what a normal family looks like, right? Only because someone decided it should. The idea of the nuclear family, mom, dad, and exactly 2.5 kids living alone in the suburbs, wasn't some timeless natural evolution of society. It was a Cold War-era invention crafted to symbolize American stability and superiority, specifically against communism. In the 1950s, U.S. government messaging, advertisers, and media all began aggressively promoting this family structure as the ideal, not because it was healthiest, not because it worked best, but because it made the country look organized, obedient, and moral on the world stage. Extended families, intergenerational homes, communal living, those were too close to socialism, too collective, so the nuclear model was mass-produced, literally. Suburban housing was zoned for it. TV shows glorified it. Even tax policies were built to reward it. Today, the nuclear family is still seen as the default, even though it's statistically unstable, emotionally isolating, and historically an experiment. If your family didn't fit the mold and you grew up feeling wrong for it, you weren't wrong, you were just off-brand. Number 3, processed food was marketed as feminist freedom, the microwave meal, the boxed cake mix, the canned everything. In the 1950s, processed food didn't just enter American homes, it stormed in with a marketing campaign disguised as liberation. Ads told women that ready-made meals were modern, progressive, efficient. They weren't just saving time, they were breaking free from the shackles of traditional housework. No more kneading, chopping, measuring. Just pour, heat, serve, smile. It was empowerment, as long as you stayed in the kitchen. The genius of it? Processed food companies knew post-war housewives were feeling trapped and invisible, so they reframed convenience as rebellion, freedom, as long as you bought the right brand. And it worked. Cake mix sales actually slumped at first, until marketers removed the powdered egg and told women to add a fresh egg themselves. Why? so they'd feel like they were still making something. Domestic pride, preserved. It was manipulation wrapped in tinfoil and microwaved to 800 watts. And to this day, prepackaged food is still sold as having it all. But it started as a clever way to rebrand housework as choice. You weren't choosing freedom. You were choosing faster compliance. Number 2, IQ tests were never about intelligence. You sit down, answer some logic puzzles, get a number, and just like that, you're gifted, or you're not, smart, or average, valedictorian, or remedial. But here's what they don't tell you. The modern IQ test wasn't designed to help you. It was designed to sort you, efficiently, bureaucratically, like a spreadsheet with feelings. The original IQ concept dates back to the early 1900s, but in the 1950s, it got fully institutionalized. Why? Because the US military needed a fast way to sort recruits during World War II, and schools needed a way to replicate that efficiency. Suddenly, a narrow set of logic skills became the standard for intelligence. Problem solving, creativity, emotional depth, cultural knowledge, not measured, not valued. IQ became a filter, one that just happened to privilege white, middle-class students and pathologize everyone else. By the 50s, public schools were using it to justify tracking, segregation, and access to resources, not because it was accurate, but because it was convenient. And even today, your perceived intelligence might still trace back to a number invented to staff the army faster. If you've ever felt defined by a score, you weren't evaluated, you were categorized. Number 1, the 40-hour work week was designed for factories, and you're still living in it. The 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, feels like the natural rhythm of adult life, right? Except it's not natural. It's mechanical. And it was never designed for mental well-being, creativity, or balance. It was designed for factories. The modern 40-hour workweek became the U.S. standard during the late 1930s and solidified in the 1940s to 50s thanks to Henry Ford and the labor movement. Not because it was ideal, but because it was a compromise between workers demanding better conditions and employers demanding maximum output. It was perfect for industrial labor. Churn, repeat, produce. But the thing is, that structure got copied and pasted into office life, corporate life, school life, even though the jobs completely changed. And here's the kicker. Studies now show most people do about 2 to 3 hours of real, focused work a day. The rest is filler, burnout, or pretending to look busy. Still, the 40-hour framework remains the default, because it's familiar, because it's professional, and because challenging it makes you sound lazy, even when the science, the culture, and the burnout all say it's broken. So if you've ever looked at the clock at 2:43 p.m. on a Wednesday and wondered why am I still here, now you know. You're following a schedule made for machines, not humans. That's it for today. I'll be making similar videos, so subscribe to see them.